Call this meeting of the Indianola City Council, April 20th, 2020 to order. Please join me in standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Jackie, will you please call the roll?
Councilmember Hewlin.
Here.
Parker.
Present.
Southall.
Here.
Kling.
Here.
Schroeder.
Present.
And Marchant.
Present.
And Mayor Shaw.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, we have the meeting open for public comment. If you would like to call in with your public comment, you may do so now. We will wait 1 minute to receive calls. The number is 515-962-5240. While we wait, if there's anyone in the chambers who would like to speak during public comment, please come forward to the podium.
Has that been the instruction before tonight about calling?
The calling in is new.
It's new.
Okay, because that's what I was going to talk about.
Okay.
The fact that, you know, like, I put something in for public comment the other meeting.
Yep.
And it didn't get presented during public comment or read aloud or anything. So I thought, well, the only way you have to do it then is to come here and speak. So I think I'm glad to see you're putting that in so that people have a way to do it. But I also think if somebody does send in a comment and wants it put under public comment, it ought to be shared. That way we wouldn't feel like we have to come for that. So thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
There was a question I had on that public comment I put in for the other meeting, and that was, I wanted to know if the city has any idea what estimating this COVID-19 is going to cost the city.
Ryan, obviously.
Susan, if you don't mind, I'll stand at the podium just because I'm sitting here without a microphone. So we have, first of all, just Susan, just so you know, your comments were provided to the
Yes,
council. It was included in the public, it's part of the public record, so that they did receive it. Regarding the revenue estimates, the city has been participating in calls with our financial advisor to run through and identify which funding mechanisms or which the local option sales tax, road use tax. There's been some estimates that have been provided to the state. We are working with the League of Cities right now on coming up with some sort of formula that will better help us, not just Indianola, but other communities around the state run different types of revenue projections. We do know that something like road use tax, we did receive a letter from the state, and that's actually in the correspondence that the council will accept later today, that they're estimating about a 40% cut to road use tax. That's a significant chunk to our street department road use tax funds in entirety, the street department. So we know that local option sales tax, based on what we're hearing from other communities like Des Moines, it's about 20%. Fortunately, we did budget conservatively on the local option sales tax revenue, which that's earmarked for the wastewater treatment plant. Other items we're just monitoring. We're actually going to have a meeting with our team on Wednesday to kind of talk through some other areas that we might not be thinking about, different types of programming and other things. So we're spending a lot of time talking to our experts as well as other resources for communities on that.
Hotel motel tax.
Yeah, hotel motel tax also is a big one. That's one we're waiting on the state for. The state department, I think it's the revenue department. They're the ones that will help us identify what that trend will be.
Thank you, Ryan. I presume we would have heard the phone ring if people were calling.
There's not one.
Okay. That will bring public comment to a close, and we'll move on to the consent agenda.
The bills.
Okay, claims. Anyone else besides the claims need to be pulled? Have items that need to be pulled? All right, the consent agenda includes the following. Item A, approval of agenda. Item B, April 6, 2020 minutes. Item C, applications, including a renewal Class E liquor license, Class B wine, Class C beer and Sunday sales privileges for Walgreens located at 1000 North Jefferson. Item 2, Friday Night Live Summer Concert Series, including approval of an event application from the Indianola Chamber of Commerce for Friday Night Live Summer Concert Series at Memorial Park on June 5, June 26, and July 10, 2020 from 6 to 9:30 p.m. A resolution suspending enforcement of Indianola Code 47.0111 regarding the sale of beer and wine coolers in city parks for the Friday Night Live Summer Concert Series as requested by the Indianola Chamber of Commerce. A Class B includes wine coolers and outdoor sales liquor license for the Indianola Chamber of Commerce for June 5, 26, July 10, 2020 at Memorial Park. A noise permit application from the Indianola Chamber of Commerce at Memorial Park for Friday Night Live Summer Concert Series at Memorial Park, June 5, 26, and July 10 from 6 to 9:30. A street closure request for the Memorial Day Parade. Item D. Item D, a resolution approving health insurance benefits for employees of the city of Indianola. Item E, receive and file the annual safety report from HR Director Melissa McCoy. Item F, a resolution approving supplemental number 23 with Snyder and Associates for an engineering service agreement for a stormwater utility update in the amount of $30,000. Item G, a resolution approving the installation of a manhole on Scott Felton Road. Item H, resolution approving intergovernmental agreement for county fire and EMS mutual assistance. Item I, resolution setting May 4th, 2020 as a public hearing on community development block grant funding. Item J, third consideration of an ordinance amending Chapter 99 sewer service charges, Indianola Code of Ordinances. Item K, third consideration of an ordinance amending the recycling fees to account for the increase being implemented by Waste Management. Item L, resolution appointing the City of Indianola representation to the Des Moines Metropolitan Planning Organization. Item M, prior and final approval on urban revitalization designations. Item N, resolution approving salaries. Item O has been pulled. Item P, resolution setting May 4th, 2020 as the public hearing to consider adoption of the 2020 revised code of ordinances of the City of Indianola, Iowa.
Move to approve. Second.
Any discussion? Jackie, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Southall,
Aye.
Marchant,
Aye.
Hewlin.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Kling.
Aye.
Schroeder.
Okay, item O, claims on the computer printout for April 13, 2020 has been pulled per Councilman Parker's request.
I have a bill in there, so I can't vote on that, so I'll be abstaining.
Okay,
Motion to approve the
Second.
bills.
Second.
any discussion? Roll call, please, Jackie.
Councilmember Hewlin.
Aye.
Parker.
Abstain,
Oh,
sorry.
abstain.
Jeez, threw me off.
Southall,
Aye.
Kling.
Aye.
Schroeder.
Aye.
Marchant.
All right, thank you. Next item on the agenda is the city treasurer's report, and we have in the house Doug Scholl.
Thank you very much. I might just start out by saying on the way down, I knew I had to be brave. When I saw all of you, I'll get it together here yet.
You're doing good.
Bob can fill the time with entertainment.
As soon as I can, I'll get started. I'd like to thank you all for your support, the community of Indianola, the county of Warren. Got just numerous cards. In support of Kayak Code. I'd give everybody a hug, but the virus doesn't allow that, so I give an elbow to everybody. Really appreciate it. Financial report. This is for the month of November. And I think that I always try to compare the previous November, which would be 2018, to, in this case, November of 2019. And we've really made some fantastic improvements in our fund balances. And I think that the question that was asked about what will be the impact of this virus, I know that, like the state of Iowa relies on, their revenue is about 90% from sales tax and personal income taxes. And I think whenever they come back, they're going to have some major decisions, that being the legislature, on what to do with this fiscal year that ends June 30th. And like in our case at the county, we do get some reimbursements from the state of Iowa, which we are concerned about. Obviously, the gas tax that Brian mentioned, another big issue, and we get about $5 million from the gas tax for our secondary roads, which is more than half of their budget. So we're concerned about that. I don't think that on the property tax issue, which you also have here, but I think that we've looked at what's come in for March, that which you'll be getting, maybe if you might have gotten it already in April. I don't think much impact there, but what I'm concerned about, what happens in September. There's, as we all know, unemployment is just devastating, and I don't know when they're going to be able to get the economy back rolling again. It's just a major thing, but I guess we'll deal with it when we get the actual numbers. But again, it was nice to see that we've had some really good improvements on our fund balances, which fund balances are for lots of different items, but one of them would be for emergencies like we are currently seeing with this virus. Let's see, I think that again, 63%, we've got a fund balance, so to speak, of a bank balance of more than about 42.8 million, which a year ago, it was like 38 million. So that's all healthy. You'll see that a lot of those interest rates have dropped, and this is November. So wait till we get to, February, March, April. I think we'll see those interest rates drop even further, because I think basically they're about zero. That's at least what they've been saying. Let's see, we still have got quite a little bit in the sweep account, which is getting a little higher rate than our Bankers Trust account, but not very much at this point. I think we're blessed that we do have these fund balances that we're probably going to have to utilize. That would be my emotional report for this evening. I'd be glad to answer any questions. By the way, I did talk to Andy today, and Andy thought that we would catch up. We're down behind about 4 months, and I think that part of it's been a new system that we're using, and but I think Andy thought very soon we would be caught up, which is important. Yeah, because if something does creep in, we'd like to know. Anyway, that'd be my report for this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Schultz. Ryan?
Just the system that Treasurer Shull is referring to is that Elation. So we're operating 2 systems right now. We got the cities, Cassell, and then IMU transition to that new Elation system. So
I'll make a motion to receive the treasurer's report.
Second.
Any discussion?
Thank you, Doug.
Thank you.
Jackie?
Councilmember Hewlin,
Aye.
Parker,
Aye.
Southall,
Aye.
Kling,
Aye.
Schroeder,
Aye.
Marchant.
Aye.
I do apologize for all the emotions.
No.
No.
No apologies.
No apologies.
Makes you real. Our next item of agenda item is the council reports. And we have item A, Home Base Iowa Initiative application from James Hansen and authorization of a handwritten warrant in the amount of $1,500.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Hewlin,
Aye.
Parker,
Aye.
Southall.
Aye.
Kling.
Aye.
Schroeder.
Aye.
And Marchant.
Aye.
Thank you. All right, item B under council reports is the Greater Des Moines Convention report from
We had our first quarterly meeting since all this stuff has taken place. And obviously, as an organization that through the 2080 sharing agreements that they have with a lot of the communities, they get their money from the hotel motel so tax, the 2/7. So we knew as an organization that we're going to take a pretty serious hit because hotels have been shut down. They came to the executive committee had met and worked with staff and put together a pretty good plan. They kind of gave an update that by the end of March, the hotel motel tax revenue was 3% below the budget, but the overall revenue was the overall revenue was 5% under budget, but the expenses were under 10%. We're going to continue that trend because as the numbers keep coming in, we'll be following that. And then one of the members, Tom Mahoney, had reported on the kind of the plan that they're putting in place. I served on the budget committee last year, and we had set the budget up as just a little more than $3 million. That has now been trimmed back to $3.2 million because of knowing what's going to take place. I know that they've cut staff by about 15%. Everybody took a 5% across the board cut. There was 2 retirements, vice president retirements last year that they're only going to need to replace 1 for right now. There'll be no incentive payouts this year. Taking a pretty serious look with it and trying to keep it tied in, knowing that we got to get through this and that people will be traveling again at some point in time. But for right now, I did, and one of the things that Mr. Mahoney did, he used to be the president of ITA Group, and they do traveling all over the world, and he said that their board meeting, that the report came in, and they're actually pretty bullish on the fact that maybe I think their fiscal year, he said, starts in September. So he said the first quarter of the year will probably but they said looking into next year that people are keeping at least corporate travel and stuff for business. They're still looking at making things go. So maybe some changes, more regional stuff rather than bringing, and one of the things he made comment was, instead of taking 15,000 people to Vegas, they may do 4 regional events, smaller. So outlook was, I feel was pretty positive at that point. So they're still working on having Ironman in for this year. So hopefully a lot of these things will start coming around and we'll get caught back up. But I was pretty happy to see that they jumped right on it and made some pretty serious changes, knowing that revenues were going to change for them pretty quick. So that's my report.
Thank you. Next, we have 2 reports by Councilmember Bob Kling, the Metro Advisory Board first.
Okay, Metro Advisory Committee meets monthly. I was out of the country for the March 10th meeting, but we did do a Zoom meeting for the April 14th. And during that time, basically 2 topics were covered. One has been a big topic of conversation that's cropped up here the last few meetings, and that's on Des Moines B&B ordinances, because they've been working on those. And they're having council workshops in a variety of neighborhoods and the Airbnb ordinances, discussions on amendments to owner occupied, the amount of separation from neighbors, 1 parking space per bedroom, can weddings be held there and everything. So all the other cities are anxious to see what they do. Their final ordinance should be on the agenda in June.
Did you give them leadership and stuff?
Yeah. I just said, don't go there. The other thing, obviously, is on everybody's minds. The whole discussion basically since then has been on COVID-19 and what we really discussed. We were curious what other cities were doing. And that's what I'll kind of give you a little update on. Several of the mayors stated that they had just completed updates to some of their buildings, new city hall, library, et cetera. And the timing couldn't have been better because it allowed their city space to the city to space their employees out. And so they're very fortunate that they had done that and it's completed. Some cities have switched to having split shifts. Some also have police shifts on 12 hours on, 12 hours off. Let's see, a lot of the cities have said that a lot more trash is being picked up because everybody seems to be doing deep cleaning in their house. Several said there are a lot of communities disappointed because they're not having the spring cleaning pickup, and that's been a concern in a lot of the cities. Representative from Altoona said Altoona is incredibly boring with no entertainment, so police are just dealing with domestic situations. Most have relaxed enforcement on temporary signs for restaurants for carryout. Some have placed drive-through lanes for easy carryout pickups also. Des Moines had an issue with Scooping the Loop, and they've closed several lanes and they're issuing citations. It was recommended that the metro cities try and coordinate with events around the 4th of July. That seems to be a time period what a lot of the cities seem to be talking about if it's possible for big public events. So they really are trying to working together and timing things. The other big issue of discussion was a concern of the metro cities about their swimming pools. Some have said that because of the work to get them ready, if they don't get them open by mid-July, they probably won't open at all. All communities reported that food pantry donations are in need. CARES funding, renters not being able to pay rent, and increase in homelessness was a concern, and that's going to be placed on the metro manager's agenda. So that's pretty much the metro advisory. Bravo. All of our arts and cultural organizations are taking a hit from the shutdown. You can't have, productions because you can't have people there. But on top of that, it's really a double hit because Bravo is one of the largest supporters or funders, I guess, of the Metro Arts and Cultural organizations. And once again, Bravo gets 2/7 of the hotel motel tax. And without that hotel motel tax, Bravo doesn't have, the funding to fund these organizations. So we're in the middle of grants right now. In fact, I think 10 more grants I have to review. I'm on the grant making committee. But here's some of the latest information Sally just sent to us board members, what they're doing and have decided to do. The FY20 budget has been revised to reflect 20 revenue of 75% of our original estimates. Operating expenses have been adjusted to minimize non-essential spending, includes maintaining staff at 100% through June 30th. We were going to add another person, but that is on hold probably for quite a while now. The Cultural Enrichment Grant, our CEG commitments for January to December, they were going to be all honored. Our Public Art Grant and Capital Campaign Project Grant cycles, those are the grants that I'm looking at right now. They will be funded at $150,000 each. And this is a reduction from their initial amounts. And I'll talk about the reduction in a second here. And Bravo has applied for the Payroll Protection Program through the SBA as part of the CARES program. Now, I said I'm on the Community Investment, which is the grant making committee. The applications for the Capital Project Grant and the Public Arts Grant deadline was extended to April 3rd. And there are 8 applicants requesting $466,966 for the Capital Project grants, and for the Public Art grants, they are requesting a total of $285,250. So if we only give $150,000 to each of those, we're going to have to really do some cutting here. Based on sustainability calculations completed on October 19th for CG20, the CP was originally intended to have $450,000 available for grant awards, while the Public Art Grant was intended to add $250,000. Well, we've reduced both of those down to $150,000. Given that Bravo's future events is uncertain, reevaluating the level of funding allocated to these grant programs is essential. Every dollar awarded through these programs now limits what we will have available for general operating support during our fall cycle. Our organization, I think it's less than 5% goes into our expenses to operate the organization. All the other money is passed through and goes to the communities. But our money comes in at different times than what we're awarding it. So it makes it tough. So based on this review, staff recommended that both of these be funded at $150,000. The only thing I want to mention is that the public art grants Bravo is giving those 8 metro organizations is only part of the funding those cities have for their projects. For example, the public art grants, there are 8 cities, and the ranges for those cities are from $150,000 to $25,000. Those are the projects. In other words, there's one city that has a $450,000 project that will take $150,000 artwork. There are several other communities that are putting $25,000 from city money into the public art. Majority of these, all of these cities that I'm reviewing right now have already had a public art study for their city, and that's about $25,000. And right now, we're missing out on a lot of these opportunities. Public art has been a big draw for the metro cities, and like I said, this is something we have to try and get involved in because that's what is drawing. That's one of the big aspects of drawing people to the communities. And even according to the study that we had, that's what people want. They want art in the communities, but we have to really work to get on board on that. So that was my little piece of bit of the air. But that's pretty much what's happening. And I will say, the arts are. I mean, to give you an idea, as an artist, we had a whole summer booked for art shows, and art. That's really wiping them out right and left. The ones that were scheduled in April and May have changed theirs to 4th of July, which means the ones you scheduled for 4th of July have to be scheduled, and it may be the 4th of July ones won't happen. So it's not looking very good for the arts. But I'm getting a lot of artwork done.
Thank you, Bob. The next item on the agenda is the mayor's report, and the mayor is not here, so the mayor pro tem, I guess, will report that we now know school will be closed for the end of the year, which is disappointing to students and staff alike. But we'll hang in there, and hopefully by next fall, we'll be back in our normal happy place. And that's all I have to report. All right, next up, we have discussion and direction regarding the library or board ordinance. Do you want me to read the letter? Do you want to speak, Brian?
I'll speak on behalf of Michelle Patrick. The library board had a library board meeting last week, I believe. They do have a vacancy, or they've got a vacancy coming up. And as they looked at it, they asked that the council consider changing the term from 6 years to 4 years. They do feel that it is a bit daunting for that time frame. And then the other item is in Michelle's memo that's in your packet. It notes that the city's library receives some funding from Warren County, and that's a portion of that is to serve the rural community. So the recommendation from the library board is to take a look at that membership and see if you can amend it to include a resident from outside the corporate limits of the city. So we're just looking for direction on that. We can bring back some different options for the library board and then for the council.
I think 4 years sounds very reasonable. I mean, that's a much better comment.
I'm a little, I don't know, I'm still a little concerned on the whole. I guess I would be okay with allowing someone, but I wouldn't want it to be where it must be someone from outside the city limits. I guess it is still our library. You know, I understand that we do get a very small portion of the funding from outside, you know, but anyway, here's my 2 cents worth.
I could live with it, one being permitted but not required, as you
Right,
say,
yeah,
that makes sense to me.
I like that wording as well. Yeah, makes sense. Gives them a little bit of liberty, but not.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. It broadens the pool
Right.
to pick from because it is hard to get people, so that
And-
makes sense.
And our funding is done based on utilization. And so when we do look at the utilization of the library, we do have some from the rural area. So that goes into how the funding is distributed.
Anyone else? Do you have direction?
Yep.
Thumbs up.
Yeah, we can work on a draft, and Michelle and I will work with legal counsel on that and then take that through the library board and get an official recommendation up to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, under public consideration, old business, we have a public hearing on the natural gas franchise fees. At this time, I will open the public hearing for the franchise fee and revenue purpose statement. Again, if you would like to make a statement via phone, you may call in 515-962-5240, and we will give a minute of pause while we wait for phone calls. If you're in the chambers and would like to speak, please step forward at this time.
I didn't give my name last time. I'm sorry. Susan Glick, 511 West Boston Avenue. I was rushed in here and I barely made it, so. I want to speak on this tonight because back when this was put in, I wasn't for it, but if it got put in, it was supposed to relieve people from being assessed for street improvements, and it was going to be paid for through the gas franchise fee. Well, I don't think the fee ended up being as much as anybody thought it was going to be or something, because I don't think it's done the trick to keep our streets in good shape, as you might know from a sign that's up not too far from me on F Street, where it says, "Please, city, fix our streets." And they have come out and put some blacktop in the holes on that street, but F Street is pretty bad from Ashland to Clinton. And the 2 blocks of Boston, the one of which I live on, is the only section of Boston that isn't new. But anyway, I was, in reading this revenue purpose statement, and by the way, the one in your packet, if it hasn't been corrected, said it's for the city of Centerville. But I didn't know that there was such a list of other things that this money could be used for. Is this a new list, or is this the same list you've been working off of?
The list, that is language that's provided to us by the gas company that we have to put in for all the respective notices. So this is the part of the process that we have to go through. There is the one Scribner's error where it says Centerville, everywhere else it says City of Indianola. And that's because, again, we have to all go through the same process. The council's direction via policy, I think it started back in 2012, was the gas franchise is just to be used for roads, and that's what we've done since it was enacted.
And that answers my concern. My concern wasn't that you were raising it, because I think we need to fix our streets. And I was concerned because it listed a lot of other things on this list, like economic development, energy conservation, and just, there's A through I, other things. And my understanding was that it was supposed to go for the streets. And that's the only way I would want it to be increased, is if it's going to be put to use on our streets, because there certainly is more than are in my neighborhood that I'm sure need improved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good. I'd like to address something. Susan, the idea behind the natural gas franchise fee was to alleviate people paying assessments, but that's the dollar amount that was trying to be raised, not enough to do the paving project, but to offset what a resident or business on a particular block would have to pay. And when we first introduced this, we tried to go for 5% from the get-go, but council would only do 2% in 2012. We increased it to 3% in 2013, but realistically, we're still falling behind because the electric franchise fee in town is 5%, has been 5% forever. So the natural gas franchise fee, we're long overdue doing this, and it won't pay to pave an entire street. It's just, once again, designed to offset so that residents or businesses that live on the streets that are repaved, not new paving, but repaved, they won't have to pay these assessments. Does that help?
Well, I knew that part. I knew that that's what it was supposed to replace, was the part that the resident was getting assessed,
Right.
which they would pay over 10 years.
Well, I was just addressing the fact that you said there wasn't enough money being raised
Yeah.
to do the job. Well,
Well,
it's part of it is the percentage, and part of it's not supposed to do the entire job, which offset
Yeah.
what was the assessment.
Right. Well, if you figure that the 2% increase is only going to raise $100,000, then does the first 3% get 150,000? That's only $250,000. That's not going to do a whole lot of streets.
Right, unless we have a really cold winter.
So, okay.
Thanks.
Is there any other public comment?
No, we didn't receive it.
And none telephonically. Okay, at this time, I will close the public hearing for the franchise fee and revenue statement. And we will have first consideration of an ordinance amending chapter 110, natural gas franchise pertaining to franchise fees, code, Indiana Code of Ordinances.
I said if the trench pressure
Move to approve.
gets worse or you develop other symptoms like
I'll second.
radiating.
Discussion.
I was going to say before we made a motion on it, I would like to see us maybe introduce it if it passes like November 1st instead of implementing it today. It's pretty low in the summer months anyway because being natural gas. But I was thinking that getting close to winter to implement it makes a lot more sense, and it's probably less hassle for everybody to have that happen down the road as opposed to just today or tomorrow.
Okay, so then will you offer an amendment?
Well, I would have to,
Oh,
No, you can,
That's accurate.
yeah, you can make, you
okay,
can make a motion. for
yes, I'd
amendment.
like to offer an amendment to the resolution to change the start date from right after approval to November 1st of 2020.
I will second that.
Is there any discussion about amending the ordinance to start date in November? Okay, seeing none. Okay, let's vote on the amendment to the resolution.
Councilmember Hewlin,
Aye.
Parker,
Aye.
Southall,
Aye.
Kling,
Aye.
Schroeder.
Aye.
And Marchant.
Aye.
We don't have to then pass it as amended, or we do have
You
to
do,
pass
now you
it.
have to vote on
Okay,
the
so
original
now-
motion. You have the motion, you have the second, you just need to do the roll call now.
Councilmember Schroeder,
Aye.
Marchant,
Aye.
Hewlin.
Aye.
Parker,
Aye.
Southall,
Aye.
and Kling.
Aye.
All right. The item passes as amended. Second, or next, rather, not second, we have a public hearing regarding an amendment to chapter 165 of the Code of Ordinances pertaining to bulk storage of petroleum products. Once again, if you would like to call in and weigh your opinion on this matter, the number is 515-962-5240. And if anyone is in the room who would like to speak about the bulk storage of petroleum products, please step forward.
You need to have a jingle with that number.
Let the 1 minute of awkward silence while we wait for calls commence.
We need the theme from Jeopardy.
Is it appropriate to just share the background on how this all started?
That sounds like a great way to occupy our wait time. Please share the background of the bulk storage petroleum product.
So, as you recall, we started 2 Januaries ago doing a contractor and developer breakfast. This is something that's hosted by Community Development to talk about current activities that the department's doing, as well as future events coming down the pike. One of the topics that we talked about was the building code amendments that will be rolled into the codification project. While we were there, we had a small business here in town stand up and voice some concerns about a previous petition they had to do just this. A number of you spoke to that business owner, walked them through the process, went through P&Z, and this is to allow for a more commercial use of that gas company. It's over on 92, so went through P&Z and amended the zoning code, recommended amending the zoning code to allow for this type of use to happen. And obviously there's certain types of conditions that would have to go through it as well.
You know, that alone was worth having that breakfast.
And you know what, Charlie's on the phone, Charlie could answer that.
I would just add, in our meeting before it went to planning and zoning, we had a lot of questions about safety and, you know, the location pretty near residential areas and Wilder. And they had very good explanations of what they would do. And obviously planning and zoning has addressed it, but Terry is on the, and I can't say, Ryan, can you say that it's like the state commission or board for the safety of those kinds of considerations. And so it was a very informative conversation. I think they're very knowledgeable, and so I think it's been handled really well.
Any other public comment?
No comments.
All right, having no more public comment, we will close this public hearing and move on to a first consideration of an ordinance amending the zoning regulations to chapter 165 regarding bulk storage of petroleum products.
Move to approve.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Roll call, please, Jackie.
Councilmember Schroeder,
Aye.
Marchant,
Aye.
Hewlin.
Aye.
Parker,
Aye.
Southall. Aye. Kling.
Aye.
All right, that brings us to other business and the city manager's report. What would you like to report, Ryan?
Just correspondence is in your packet.
Okay. We need to receive and file the correspondence for April 1st, 3rd, and 10 weekly updates from the city manager, Ryan Waller.
Motion to receive and file city manager's report from 1st, 3rd, and 10th.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Hewlin.
Aye.
Parker,
Aye.
Southall.
Aye.
Kling.
Aye.
Schroeder.
Aye.
Marchant.
Aye.
Next, we need to receive and file correspondence from the Iowa Department of Natural Resources providing notice of an award of $1 million to the city of Indianola for the approved square streetscape design project.
It was a winning award, right?
Yeah, award winning.
Award-winning
Award-winning.
award.
Redundancy.
Motion to accept,
Yeah.
receive and file.
I'll second that, yeah.
Any discussion?
And that's just as a reminder that is based on the interest from the wastewater treatment, the new wastewater recovery facility.
Here we are.
Yes, so being able to make some gains on another project in the community based on a new project. So that's kind of like double dipping, and I appreciate the staff putting that together. So thank you.
That's
Yeah,
fantastic.
that's awesome.
$1 million.
Yeah, we did have to go through and apply for it and have to show that it met various stormwater, water quality, positive impact. So a good team effort, and it's certainly a big chunk of change, which will help significantly.
Perfect.
Councilmember Hewlin.
Aye.
Parker,
Aye.
Southall.
Aye.
Kling.
Aye.
Schroeder.
Aye.
Marchant.
Aye.
Is there any other business for the order?
You know, one thing we may want to take a moment to recognize is all the applications and things that are headed into is that planning and zoning from
Yeah.
community development from
Yeah.
tomorrow night's meeting. Just a ton of positive things happening for the city. So
Yep. New platted developments. I mean, there's all the things we've been working so hard for the last 5 to 7 years are starting to come together now, and we're starting to see some changes, some growth, and that's a good thing, because as we've shown over the last few weeks, that when you grow the tax base, it makes things much easier, and we're getting there. So
great job, Charlie.
yes.
This has made a significant difference with the way people approach this city. And thanks for your efforts, because it really does make a difference.
If that is all we have, I would not only entertain, but appreciate a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Shall we do roll call just for fun?
Sure.
All right.
Councilmember Kling.
Aye.
Schroeder.
Aye.
Marchant.
Aye.
Hewlin.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Southall.
Aye. We are hereby adjourned.